For your viewing pleasure, this broadcast of the Municipal Council meeting of Alpena is made possible by the funding provided by the City of Alpena. Thank you for your generosity.
Good evening and welcome to the Alpena City Council meeting of November 4th, 2019. Call the roll, please.
Hess.
Here.
Johnson. Here. Nielsen.
Here.
Noah.
Here.
Walagora.
Here. Please rise for the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Any modifications to the agenda this evening? Approval of the minutes for regular and closed sessions of October 21st, 2019. Any issues or changes? Citizens appearing before council on agenda and non-agenda items are allowed 5 minutes each to address your concerns. This is the only time during tonight's meeting you're allowed to address council. If you'd like to do so, please come to the podium and state your name and address for our records. Ooh, Chief's coming up.
Good evening. I'm Bill Forbush, your fire chief, 501 West Chisholm. And I would just like to give you a quick update on yesterday's fire. Obviously the biggest news in Alpena for quite some time, and there was a lot of good news and some that wasn't as good. We had a very, very close call. We came extremely close to losing 2 firefighters in a building collapse yesterday morning. And fortunately, although we do have 2 injured, one will be back tomorrow, one will be back in about a month. Comparatively minor injuries over what it could have and should have been. I'm happy to report that we have the appropriate procedures and safety efforts in place, and that one of the reasons that our more severely injured firefighter isn't worse than he is because of proper protective gear that was in use. His boot failed in a way that was an issue. His helmet stood up to the first Besser block. And I now am a big fan of Besser blocks. They're much heavier and much more dangerous than cinder blocks. So you got to watch out for Besser blocks. They're bad stuff. But anyway, just to give you a quick update of what's new since the last news coverage you may have seen. The fire was initially reported at 6:15. It was dispatched to the department at 6:16, and the first fire apparatus arrived at 6:17. So our response was 1 to 2 minutes, depending on how you look at it. I think that's darn impressive. I particularly want to commend the Alpena City DPW, specifically Mike Mishley and Sean McNamara, for providing above and beyond service. Mike operated a backhoe in the hot zone the whole day, really, pulling down walls and moving debris and so forth, because we couldn't get the rest of the fire out if the debris was on top of what was burning. And so Mike did just a tremendous job. But you know what I liked best about it was when I thanked him for his service, he told me, hey, he says, we're all on the same team. And I couldn't agree more. I just thought that was a wonderful thing to hear from a fellow city employee, top notch. The other people that did a great job was Alpena Police. Alpena Police secured the perimeter around there. They kept the 3 million cell phones back so they wouldn't get hurt at least. Kept the traffic taken care of. MSP helped as well, but APD was just tremendous and collaborated with us every step of the way on where the perimeters needed to be and how we were going to secure this area or that area. Just a really, really good operation. One of the things that was needed at APD was that much of the day their number 1 and 2 command were unavailable, and so the sergeants were our primary point of contact and were seamless, fantastic. Once the rear wall was stabilized, Alpena Power and Contractors for Merit were able to get the lines taken care of. The whole county was out of 911 for a number of hours because of the fiber optic in back of the building. But there again, safety systems were in use. It rerouted to Ross Common and then forwarded back to Alpena, and no emergency calls were lost. As the county ambulance, we did handle business as usual for county ALS calls during this fire operation, although we had 28 of our 29 employees at this point on duty all day from 6:15 until about 10 o'clock last night. I know the police had extra people in as well. Alpena Township had about 15 personnel on scene and were extremely helpful in helping us to control the fire. Alpena County's emergency manager, Mark Hall, was on scene and helped with a number of different things, and we're expecting the state police to arrive tomorrow or the next day to help our investigators and the insurance company to determine a more conclusive cause and origin for the fire. All told, a very close call, but kudos to DPW, the police. Don Gilman was on the scene, and especially the citizens who showed tremendous support for the fire. I ran back to the station at one point, and there were pizzas, and there were cider and donuts, and you name it. People had just brought, what can we do to help? And what a great community to live in, that we have that kind of community support. So we certainly appreciate it. It's unfortunate that the buildings couldn't be saved. 100-year-old buildings burn really well. But it didn't do the church, it didn't do any of the houses, and they'll rebuild and be stronger, I'm sure. So I just wanted to report a very successful operation, and thank you to the other city departments that make it all work. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Chief. And probably the only person that comes to mind that you didn't mention was yourself, which doesn't surprise me. Chief, you did a fantastic job, great communication, not only with us, but with the community as a whole. So thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mayor.
All right, tonight's consent agenda is A, bills to be allowed in the amount of $113,315.92, and a mayoral reappointment of Randy Boboltz and Matt Wojda to the Planning Commission for the 3-year terms expiring on November 1st, 2022.
I move we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Hess.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Nielsen.
Yes.
Nowak.
Yes.
Walagora.
All right, thank you. Next up is an announcement. City general election will be held on Tuesday, November 5th, which is tomorrow, 2019. Polls are open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. Anything to add on that, Leila? Normal stuff? I have a proclamation this evening. This is National Apprenticeship Week. Whereas National Apprenticeship Week is celebrating its 5th anniversary of raising awareness of the vital role apprenticeships provide in creating a qualified and highly skilled workforce in diverse industries in Alpena and across the nation, and whereas the advancement and well-being of the United States of America depends on the continued development of skilled workers in their chosen fields, and whereas there are more job openings than job seekers in the United States, and the expansion of the apprenticeship will help bridge the skills gap to fill these jobs, and whereas Alpena recognizes that robust apprenticeship programs provide tangible value to both job creators and apprentices, with the potential to increase productivity, improve diversity and inclusion, and reduce recruitment and training costs while providing a pathway to a prosperous career for job seekers. Now, therefore, I, Matthew J. Walagora, by the virtue of authority vested in me as the mayor of the city of Alpena, do hereby proclaim the week of November 11th through the 17th, 2019 as National Apprenticeship Week in the city of Alpena. And in doing so, I urge anyone interested in learning more about apprenticeship programs to seek the guidance of the Regional Apprenticeship Success Coordinator, Nicole Keys, at the Michigan Works Northeast Consortium office at 315 West Chisholm Street in Alpena. And Nicole is here this evening.
Usually it's our side.
I hope so. When are you gonna-
All right, and then down to report of officers, we have the opt-out of PA 115 health insurance shared cost options for 2020.
Well, you probably got this memorized, since all I do is change a few of the dates and the numbers to update it, but I'll go through it. Each of the last 6 years, councils concurred with the request from myself to opt out of PA 152 health insurance cost options. Normally, there are two options. One is either the hard cap, the other being the 80%. The hard cap, if you do nothing, is what you have under the law. And the 80% requires a majority vote of the council every year. We do have another option, and that is to opt out. And in the past 6 years, the council, by a required 2/3 vote, each time it's been unanimous, has agreed to opt out of both of these options. This was initially done to phase into the 20% employee contribution rather than just jumping to it all at once. And then later, as we went into the high deductible HSA plans, we found that we were able to reduce our costs, and even while putting money into the HSA plan, city contributions, we were still saving money. However, it went over the 80% city contribution that is allowed without an opt-out. So even though we're up around maybe 83, 84, 85%, it's still saving us money, but we do need to opt out in order to be compliant with the law. So that is why we asked that. This September, we did receive our new rates. Initially, we were informed that they were going to be somewhere in the range of 17 to 20-some%, which did not make us happy, and it meant we were going to have to begin to sharpen our pencil and look at alternatives. But when it came through, the rates were much more reasonable. Our two high deductible HMO health savings account plans increased by 1.67% and 0.63%, so pretty minimal. The only one that went up a bit was 5.26% for, it's an HMO, but it is a non-high deductible. It doesn't qualify under the federal definition. And that one went up 5.25%. So our current budget, we had anticipated, and we have been for the last few years, a 10% increase. So that's what we use. So this is definitely a plus. However, we've always said that, well, at least I did from the beginning of making contributions, city contributions to the HSAs, is that we were top-loading them, front-loading them in essence, to start with, to get money in, and then to encourage the employee to increase their own participation. And that it was not always going to stay at the level that we have been funding it at. And so what we did do to begin to start that, to encourage the employee to put more in themselves, is we did reduce our payments based on the percent increase. So the reductions were very minor. In most cases, $5, $10, maybe $15. So they weren't significant, but they were to show that we are going to begin looking at that and reducing those over time, those payments in by the city. So that we are doing. As has been the case for the last few years, although the overall healthcare expenses for the city have either decreased or remained stable, the total city contribution has exceeded the PA 152 80% cap by a few percentage points. To legally permit this, it is recommended that council once again approve the opting out of PA 152 for calendar year 2020. I did not go in and check this. It was pointed out by a council person that I may have put the wrong number in when I said with the passage of PA 252 of 214. I could be wrong, but I believe that is a different act. And what it basically says is we still have to either opt out or we have to determine what we're going to use as a cap. But we don't have to send the actual resolution to the state, to Treasury. All we gotta do is keep it on file, which is what we now do. And we'll continue to do this unless, things change to where we no longer have to, and then it would still require the annual vote for the 80-20 split, if it's not an opt-out. So at this time, I would recommend that council approve the opt-out for 2020.
No questions? I move we opt out of PA 152
Second.
And that's for the year 2020.
for the year 2020. I was getting there.
Johnson?
Yes.
Nielsen?
Yes.
Noah?
Yes.
Walagora?
Aye.
Hess?
Yes.
Thank you, Greg. Down to unfinished business, second reading of the ordinance to rezone 409 South Ripley Boulevard and 794 Clinton Street to R2 Single Family Resident District. Bill?
Consistent with council policy, this would not be read again unless you desired me to do so. So just need A motion, either yes or no.
I move we approve ordinance 19-451.
Second. Nielsen?
Yes.
Noah?
Yes.
Walagora?
Aye.
Hess?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Thank you. New business, first up, DPW Uniform Renewal Recommendation. Rich?
In 2017, the city received an open bids and was awarded the DPW uniforms to Thompson's Linen Service for a 3-year period. That contract also had an option for a 3-year renewal if both parties could agree on the prices. Thompson Linen Service has effectively supplied this service to the city for many years, and the bids received for 2017 through 19 is listed below, as well as the proposed new prices for 2020 through 2022. And I'm not going to read through that entire chart, but we did see a slight increase yearly for the first year of the renewal. Blended shirt, cotton pants decreased by 3 cents per uniform, and cotton by a nickel, but then the second year they went up by 10 and 15 cents, and then an additional 10 and 15 cents per year. Upon review of the proposed bid prices and considering the services the city has received from Thompson's Linen Service in the past, it is my recommendation to city engineer to award a 3-year contract renewal to Thompson Linen Service for supplying delivery of uniforms to the Department of Public Works for the years 2020 to 2022, and that would go through December 31st of 2022.
Sounds reasonable to me.
No questions, sir. I move we award the 3-year contract extension to Thompson Linen Service for supply and delivery of uniforms to the Department of DPW.
Second. Good.
Noah?
Yes.
Walagora?
Aye.
Hess?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Nielsen?
Yes.
Thank you, Rich. And next up for you as well, City Hall Fire Alarm System Recommendation.
The city previously contracted with AWC, American Widget Company, for the installation of security system and cameras throughout City Hall. That work, as you can see, is well underway. At that time of the award, staff indicated that we would also determine the cost associated with the installation of a fire alarm system here at City Hall. The contractor has provided that cost estimate of $15,750 for this work. As the installation of a fire alarm system has certain requirements and liabilities, the contractor will be working with Worth Electric, who holds the appropriate credentials for the installation of this system. Due to the economies of scale, basically he was in here pulling wires for all the cameras, drilling holes between floors, etc. We authorized him to install a portion of the system, these being the wiring and the pull boxes for the alarm. As you came in the building, you probably saw a pull box right there. This time, we are requesting the authorization to complete the fire alarm system for the as-quoted price of $15,750. The city has $40,000 in the current budget for the alarm system. With the previously awarded work in the fire alarm system, the contract cost would increase to $46,940. Well, over the budgeted amount, this has been a project which has been planned for many years and delayed due to other priorities. And as an aside, today we actually got a letter a few weeks ago. The representative from Tokyo Marine was in here, met with the various department heads, talked to us, walked the buildings, checked them all out. We got his recommendation today, and there were 2 of the recommendations were smoke and fire alarm systems in each one of the buildings and carbon monoxide detectors. So those are things we'll be addressing, but it was just uncanny timing that we got that letter today. Well, over the budgeted amount, this, like I said, this has been a project that's been delayed due to other priorities. Additional funding, $6,940 to complete the work, can be transferred from our light department line item. The funding for energy efficiency upgrades can be reduced by $10,000 from $45,000 to $35,000. The attached budget amendment transfers $10,000 to the City Hall line item to cover this contract increase, as well as potential overruns on the original contract. It's my recommendation as city engineer and Mike Kelishewski as the building official that City Council award the fire alarm system to American Widget Company in the amount of $15,750. This is basically an amendment to their existing contract to do this work.
I don't have any questions other than, I'm assuming that this cost covers Worth Electric's cost as well. He put that in the original, okay. I assumed so, but.
Yeah.
The only other question I have, Bill, is do we need two motions on that for the budget amendment as well as the?
Probably.
Yes, we should, yeah.
That's what I'm saying. I move we award the fire alarm system to the American Widget Company in the amount of $15,750.
Yeah, do that one first and then we'll do this.
Walagora.
Aye.
Hess.
Yes.
Johnson. Yes. Nielsen.
Yes.
Noah.
Yes. I move we approve the budget amendment as presented.
Second.
Hess.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Nielsen.
Yes.
Noah.
Yes.
Walagora.
Aye. Thank you, Rich. Next up is the, pardon me, final design and permitting proposal for Thunder Bay Riverfront public infrastructure improvements. Adam Paul?
Good evening. Attached to the cover letter is a proposal from Environmental Consulting and Technology, or ECT, for the remaining design services and required joint permit for the project. Currently, the MEDC has provided the city with a letter of intent to fund the proposed riverfront public infrastructure improvements. The city staff is working to finalize the grant application.